As far as we are aware, this story has been ongoing for a while, but he at Royal Lodge is one of the primary problems. Huge mansion, you know. It's not in good condition. I don't think it's as horrible as people say. There are still people there, including servants and gardeners and other things like that. We'd all be happy to move in, I believe. Prince Andrew has been living rent-free at one of the most prestigious royal homes in Britain for 22 years. He's not by himself either. Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, his ex-wife, continues to share the property, even though they got divorced nearly 30 years ago. The startling reality of their arrangement at Royal Lodge, the 30-room home on the Windsor estate, has now been made public by an unredacted lease. Even though they are no longer in charge, the Duke and Duchess continue to enjoy luxury. Once the Queen Mother's cherished residence, Royal Lodge, was leased to Prince Andrew for 75 years in 2003. He pledged to spend $7.5 million on renovations after paying $1 million up front. The Crown Estate provided him with what's referred to as a peppercorn rent, which is only 1 cent annually if required. At mid-morning, the Duchess of York, who was eager to hit the slopes, came out of her chalet here to discuss the divorce for the first time. How good. Excellent. Many thanks. Your kids are all set up and prepared to go skiing. I said it for you. That would be understood, in my opinion. Indeed, it is quite depressing. Thus, the Duke of York has essentially paid no rent for over 20 years. That's 22 years in a mansion that would fetch a hefty price tag if it were up for sale. The bargain becomes even more alluring. The Crown Estate would owe Andrew compensation of about £500,000 if he ever decides to vacate the mansion or is compelled to do so before the lease expires in 2078. Outrage over the disclosure has led to MPs and activists calling for explanations. How can such remarkable benefits be enjoyed by a disgraced royal who has been deprived of titles and official duties? Andrew's upfront contribution and renovations were intended to replace decades of rent, according to those close to the Crown Estate. Royal Lodge is more than just a house, though. It is a financial abyss. A 30-room home costs millions of dollars a year to maintain staff and heat. The source of this money is unknown to us. Sometimes money matters, as we've seen recently with the Dispatches program, Andrew's relationship with Epstein, and Epstein giving money to pay off Sarah Ferguson's loan or selling us the oligarch. This is when Sarah Ferguson reappears in the narrative. Fergie never really left Royal Lodge, even after their 1996 divorce. Andrew and she have exchanged the property ever since, claiming to be the world's happiest divorced couple. Despite living in different wings, they are nevertheless financially connected. They appear to be highly dependent on each other both emotionally and financially, and she has characterized their relationship as a partnership based on love and support. Andrew inherited the right to rent the Queen Mother's old house after her death. However, he no longer receives any public allowance in contrast to other royals. Furthermore, new information reveals that neither his grandmother nor the late Queen Elizabeth II left him a sizable inheritance. That insight presents a serious query. His previous residence also sold for $3 million more than it was listed for. Money can be a weakness at times. Should we know how Andrew obtained the funds to stay at Royal Lodge, in your opinion? In my opinion, he is no longer performing royal duties. He can, in a sense, live his life as long as he doesn't receive royal income or inheritance. However, how are Andrew and Sarah able to support themselves? Since leaving the royal life, Andrew has been completely excluded from government support. His safety, once his responsibility, now is taxpayer-funded. He was apparently offered a compromise by King Charles III. Charles might restore some private allowance and help with protection expenses if they moved into a smaller home. Maybe Frogmore Cottage, which Prince Harry and Meghan Markle recently left. Andrew declined. As long as he follows the terms of his lease, he maintains that it is unbreakable and that not even the king could lawfully evict him. However, this is a continual source of annoyance for the king. While he's promoting a contemporary slimmed-down, his disgraced brother and ex-sister-in-law's lavish lifestyle on Crown land has turned into a public relations disaster for the monarchy. Would you give $12 million to someone who is accusing you of terrible, horrible things that happened inside the castle gates if you are innocent? Some courtiers refer to the persistent issue as Royal Lodge. It's large, costly, and politically delicate. At least in appearance, Sarah Ferguson has been instrumental in maintaining the estate's viability. She has published best-selling books, advocated for brands, goes to events, and frequently presents herself as a self-made lady who has undergone numerous self-reinventions. Her finances haven't always been steady, though, as some close to the pair are aware. Fergie has experienced financial scandals, failed business endeavors, and bankruptcy warnings throughout the years. She has acknowledged in public that she made a number of errors, including dubious business choices and inadequate money management. She maintains that she is debt-free and self-sufficient today. However, according to sources, she still mostly depends on her ex-husband for assistance and lodging. Yes, I am aware of it. However, you're releasing your book and you've acknowledged that I've already done so. The problem is that I will not descend to this level. I'll respond to your inquiries, but that's it. It's done. I've responded to it. Many thanks. On to the next one. This is only the beginning of the year you have written about yourself. Many thanks. Beyond just a house, Royal Lodge is more. It's the final vestige of both of their position. Them. The designation of resident is something Andrew holds on to. Sarah holds on to the way of life it provides. According to Windsor insiders, the estate is a financial mess that requires constant renovations and a crew of gardeners, housekeepers, and maintenance personnel simply to maintain it livable. Furthermore, the couple's financial situation is still unknown in the absence of royal backing. Both of them have been mainly excluded from formal royal events, which has further increased their seclusion. Although the monarch has privately expressed sympathy for his brother, he stated that he is adamant about preventing Andrew or Fergie from returning to the royal court. Life. Andrew couldn't have come to this realization at a worse moment. It occurs while his ties to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein and the persistent accusations that still plague his reputation are under further investigation. All of the males who ever had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein have been under fire ever since he was arrested and committed suicide in prison. Prince Andrew more than anyone else. Despite his denials of any wrongdoing, Andrew has been irrevocably marginalized by the shadow of those associations. Now that more MPs are urging him to be even, Sarah Ferguson is feeling the heat after being officially deprived of all remaining titles by a parliamentary act. In order to prevent further embarrassment, her children, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, discreetly withdrew from public events, including a charity ball in London, and she recently modified her social media names to no longer include the word Duchess. Nevertheless, in what insiders say is an effort to demonstrate togetherness, both girls have stayed faithful, regularly visiting their father at Royal Lodge. For the monarchy, the optics are awful. King Charles is working to modernize, cut expenses, and win back the trust of the people. His sibling, however, is still able to live in a palace for free. Once a representation of royal elegance, Royal Lodge has come to represent royal extravagance. Critics claim that this reveals the institution's core double standard. Andrew and Fergie enjoy royal luxury without being held accountable, while working royals are subject to public scrutiny and duties. Although it would be politically and legally problematic, there is speculation that the Crown estate may someday renegotiate or even purchase back the lease. Andrew may demand payment, and there would be even more indignation if it were made public. It took some time for their royal status to decline. Decades of scandal and poor judgment led to it. The declaration that Prince Andrew's titles will be taken away marked the official beginning of his downfall. In early 2022, following years of negative publicity and mounting public ire, the Duke of York willingly gave up his royal patronages and military positions. However, he ultimately gave up his ducal title completely this month. Andrew will no longer be addressed as His Royal Highness or the Duke of York in any official capacity, according to confirmation from Buckingham Palace. His life story still exists on the internet, but his title was discreetly disappeared from the royal website. Sarah Ferguson's path was similar to his. She was reduced to Sarah, Duchess of York, after she divorced Andrew in 1996, forfeiting her ability to be called Her Royal Highness. Even that has diminished now that Andrew and their joint existence at Royal Lodge are under further investigation. She just dropped the Duchess altogether from her social media names. It's a symbolic change, admitting that she and Andrew are now merely nominal royals. Two former world-famous individuals who now have no official position are clinging to their joint residence, which is the final link that connects them to the royal world. The Duke and Duchess are still firmly established at Royal Lodge. Although Andrew rarely makes an appearance and is infrequently seen driving around the Windsor grounds, the reality that lies beyond those gates is anything but idyllic. The upkeep of the property costs millions. The public's tolerance for royal entitlement is ebbing, and the king is growing impatient. Although a 22-year lease may be lawful, it appears increasingly unsupportable in the eyes of the public. Fundamentally, the Royal Lodge saga is more than simply a home. It has to do with what that house stands for. It tells the tale of two individuals who, after having previously occupied the center of the royal realm, now live on its periphery, clinging to the last vestige of luxury they possess. It's pride and defiance for Prince Andrew. It's about image and survival for Sarah Ferguson. It is becoming an increasing liability for the monarchy. Additionally, it serves as another reminder to the British public that royal privilege can still be safeguarded by royal walls in the present era. As the monarch pursues his goal of a more streamlined and open monarchy, it's obvious. The largest barrier in his way is now the Royal Lodge. Furthermore, the dispute between Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson will continue to cast a shadow over Windsor and the throne itself, unless they ultimately decide to put their differences aside.